Hi, guys, and welcome. I am really excited. We're doing something a little bit different today. We are welcoming Allecia Maine, the animal healer, to talk to us today about some things that are outside of many of our norms. So I think it's going to expand our perspectives, expand our thinking, and I'm really excited about that. So we're talking body alignment, behavior, remote healing, quantum entanglements. It's going to be great. So if you're joining us live, keep an open mind, ask your questions. We're here to have a discussion. So please feel free to share any questions or thoughts that you have. That is why we're in this live format. So join the conversation. And without any further ado, Allecia, will you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and your journey into healing and working with animals.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm really excited to be here and share. So I grew up, and at 5 years old, my mom said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "Be a vet. I want to help animals heal." And then math and science came in, and we didn't really get along. I was lost. I couldn't figure it out at the time, but I was like, "You're telling me X over N equals B." I'm a very practical, hands-on and hands-off person, as I found out later. But it was like, what's X? What's N? What's B? Why is it that way? What does it mean? It had no context or frame of reference for actually being able to interact. So I thought I was like, well, apparently that's not gonna happen. And I went on to be a fitness trainer. And the fitness helped me a lot with the science and the math because things became so much more tangible. I could plug in numbers. I could understand the science from watching it, from working with it, from observing it in my own clients. So that became kind of like my gateway. Never in a million years growing up in the Bronx did I think I was going to be healing anybody or know anything about energy. But as my path had it, I met a client who kind of became my spiritual mom, and she got me to chiropractic care. She taught me about macrobiotic cooking. She gave me a gift one year of acupuncture with a Chinese acupuncturist in Chinatown. And that really is what started me waking back up to remembering that everything really is energy. And so through my acupuncturist, he's also a Qigong master. So I started studying Qigong, and it blew the doors off of my mind. If the mind is we train it like a box, there were no more doors. So that led to studying animal communication and understanding telepathy, also led to understanding telekinesis, which is long distance ability for cells to connect and communicate. And that led to a holistic dog training career, which then led to also studying flower essences and homeopathy and just really any of the energy medicine tools. That led to developing a harness and leash system to be able to train dogs very humanely and quickly, which led to body work and the animals telling me, listen, we don't actually have behavior problems. We usually have body problems, and blocked energy is equaling challenging behaviors. So they taught me how to do an assessment on their backs. Started with that process, mind-blowing results. It was like, how are you better? And I didn't even train you. So I got to really see everything. I'm a very experiential, very hands-on person. So I've studied animal massage. I've studied craniosacral. I've studied T-touch. I've studied many different things, but it was the animals that actually came to me and said, we want you to create a system that you can use hands-on, hands-off. And then the horses came in, and they added a whole nother layer and dimension. And that's when I did my PhD research with 27 formerly wild mustangs at distances using my instinct body assessment and release to see, one, can animals pick up energy over long distances? Can that energy being picked up actually have a very clear shift in behavior or health? And what is this quantum entanglements thing? So that's where my path has led me to today.
Okay, lovely. In a nutshell. So
No,
guys, if you're joining us live, it's so good to have you. Welcome. Thank you. Please feel free to ask your questions, join the conversation. That is why we're live. Let's come with open minds and explore some concepts that might be foreign to us, a little bit different from our normal thinking. I'm really excited about that. So, Allecia, you did a PhD, and I think this is a great way for us to kind of find common ground, right? So let's talk about your PhD and then discuss the different concepts within it from that middle ground, should I say. So tell us a little bit about your PhD. What did you do? What was the methodology behind it? How did you set it up? What did that look like?
So just to state very clearly, I had no plans to do a PhD. That was definitely not on my bucket list of this lifetime. But on February 1st, I had done my master's and I had done a study with teenage high school boys that had ADD and ADHD. And I was applying Qigong to their weekly routines twice a week to see if it made any difference. So I had done my master's. Everything is a metaphysical master's. So everything is through metaphysics. It's not the biology and the chemistry. It's the what's going on with the energy field that affects the biology and the chemistry. So I did not know at the time through my school that the way I had set it up, I had prepared to do a PhD. February 1st, 2020, I went to a wild Mustang sanctuary in Colorado. I worked with some of the horses. There were such dramatic changes. I mean, I was shocked because I don't ever know what's possible. I just apply my in-sync body assessment and foster release protocols, and then we just see how they work and what the animals show us. So as I was driving home that day, I heard the horses because I've been a communicator for 30 years, so I can communicate with them telepathically, and they're very intelligent and conscious and sentient. And the horses said, "Can you pull over?" So I pulled over and I just kind of closed my eyes and I saw the whole herd, and they said, "We want you to do your PhD." Now, I was working with a lot of dogs, so I figured if I was going to do any kind of further research, it was going to be with the dogs. But the horses said, "No, you're going to do it with us." They showed me exactly how they wanted me to do the study. They said, "You're going to do it via Zoom. Some of us will be 100 miles away. Some of us will be 2,000 miles away." But I would apply my in-sync body assessment and foster release protocol, which was taught to me in stages, first by the dog. They showed me points on their back that follow the chiropractic points, and then they showed me belly line assessment and release. So we could also work with the emotional issues that they were having. And then the horses came in and showed me all the face points, which match up, interestingly, with the 12 cranial nerves. So I said, okay, they showed me how I would do it via Zoom. They showed me exactly how they wanted it done. And, being the typical type A Bronx, New Yorker, I was like, but I've got to call other people. I've got to call heart math. I've got to call this person. I've got to, how am I doing this? Where am I working with this? And the horses were just like, just relax. So I had my case studies done in 6 months. I worked with 27 formerly wild horses that I did not know anything about. They did not know me. They didn't even know what was happening when we were on Zoom, except that I was going through the points and the things that we saw happen. I mean, we saw coat that you're not supposed to go from dry to bright and shiny and vibrant unless you have supplements, right? Or medication. You're not supposed to, when you touch a certain point on C6, all of a sudden the horse goes down and it's the first time that they've relaxed in God knows how long. Because if you're a wild Mustang and you get rescued and then you go through the pipeline, we had behavior changes that, certain horses were with people for a while, didn't want any touch. And all of a sudden they were coming in for touch. So I use this methodology of the in-sync body assessment and fascia release protocol that I developed directly with the animals. They actually taught it to me. And every single session was exactly the same. It just was a different horse in a different location with a different human that had no idea what I was doing. And so what we got to see was, wow, and my initial thinking was, can animals feel energy at a distance? If they can we work through fascia tissue over long distances to be able to release tightnesses or tensions that we don't have any machines, we don't have any equipment that will read this at this current time, right? So I'm going outside of blood work, sonogram, x-ray, all of the things that we have. I went outside of all of that, and we started to see just things that just made our jaw drop, because we're not supposed to work that way, yet the horses were showing us, but we do.
Yeah.
So saw some
Okay.
incredible behavior changes, to like immediate behavior changes that we're just going, how is this even possible? So, and another thing, so I learned from that study, one, animals definitely can feel fascia over long distances. Quantum entanglements, while there's usually like a big scientific equation, we're actually doing the science working this way. It's like whatever that equation is, this is actually how it works in reality through third dimensional and through fifth dimensional reality. And not to get like woo-woo in fifth dimension, but there is a fifth dimensional science that regardless of what we understand on a microscopic level, there is a macro that operates and is in operation all the time. So it's the able to, balance between the two.
Okay, you've said lots of things that I think we should go deeper into, right? So let's start with quantum entanglements.
Okay.
What is that, right? From someone who's never heard that terminology, how are you going to explain that to me? What are we talking about?
Okay. So where we start is everything is energy. Now, that is not a woo concept. It is not weird. It is not out there. It is literally our reality. Everything is energy, and what that energy is chi. It's energy that runs through our entire body. It's energy that's all around us. We are literally in a chi soup, and chi is the energy of life. Like, you can't be alive if you don't have chi running through you. So even with what we know about blood work and chemistry and biology, it's not fully understanding the bigger picture unless it understands chi. So this is why a lot of the times patients can come in, right? Clients come in and say, okay, my horse is experiencing this, my dog is having this, my cat is having that. And we take the blood work. Can't find anything. I don't see anything wrong with the blood work. Take an x-ray. No, nothing, nothing's showing up. Maybe do a sonogram, maybe do an MRI, right? We can't really find the reason why this animal is not feeling well from a pathology perspective. But that's the whole point, is because it hasn't reached into the system deeply enough to show up as a problem. It's an energy blockage that's happening that's making the body feel not good, but it hasn't seeded itself so long that now it's finally showing up on a blood test. So where I work is on the end of, okay, you went to the vet, nobody can find anything, nobody can see. I just had this the other day. We had a horse who all of a sudden he was like walking funny and walking weird. She had the vet out. He checked everything, checked for all, possible like tick-borne, all kinds of any viruses, nothing. So when I communicated with the horse, we were on Zoom, and I started going through his face, and I was like, what did this horse do to his face? It's all,
Mm,
he's got bangs and dings and the energy is not flowing.
mm.
And so I started working through his fascia tissue long distance. He starts straightening himself out. And then he showed me a couple visuals. He was like, I banged my face. And I'm like, but what did you bang it on? Because it looks kind of like, if you've ever been, I don't know if we're around the same age, but do you remember monkey bars?
Yep,
Those, yeah. And remember, if you fell from the top, it's like you were ricocheting off of things, and we still
yep,
lived and didn't have helmets. Well, that's what it kind of looked like to me. And I was like, God, this is so strange. There's
yep.
nothing I'm seeing in your pasture. Well, he also said something about an electrical shock. And I was like, what? By the end of our session, when I had gone through his whole body and he was already starting to feel better, he was already straightening out, he was eating straighter. And this is in the session. This is not,
Mm.
okay, a week later, 2 weeks later. His human flashed to where they had one of those water feeders, that comes like from under the ground. So she showed
Yeah.
me the water feeder, and there's the water feeder, there's an electrical cord, and
Oh,
there's bars, like, so he would have, if he got an electrical shock, he smacked his face to the left, he smacked his
yeah.
face in front of him, because I couldn't understand. I was like, how are you telling me you smacked your face here? And then he said, I smacked my face on the right because I was so, like
Oh.
kerfuffled. And it all made complete sense. And so within the hour of working together, this horse completely straightened himself out. The energy was definitely blocked. He
Mm,
had the vet out. He looked at all the blood work, all of the things that could have possibly been, disease related.
mm,
And we got this horse better in an hour. So it's, to me, it's very fascinating because this is not the thing I thought I was going to be doing in this life. Like, again, I thought I was going to be a vet. But it turned
mm,
out that being able to understand energy, being able
mm,
to remember telepathic communication, which is not just special to me. This is, we're
yeah.
all capable of this. Even if you tell me that you've had a gut feeling in your life, it's like, that's telepathy. So quantum entanglement is the fact that everything is connected, and cells over long distances absolutely can communicate. Now, I was born in Albert Einstein Hospital in the Bronx.
Mm,
Albert Einstein had an issue with quantum entanglements because he called it spooky action at a distance. I share
okay.
the same initials with Einstein. And after I got COVID, 85% of my hair fell out and I looked like Einstein. And I'm laughing. I'm not claiming I am, but I just find it funny that someone that was so bad in math and
Mm,
science is able now to, on a macro level,
mm,
actually not only understand how quantum entanglements works, but be able to do it and then see
mm,
the results. And I don't have a couple of cases. I mean, I have well over 1,000 case studies. Dogs,
mm,
cats, horses. I worked with a buffalo in Yellowstone National Park. I've worked with wolf dogs. I've worked with wolves. I've worked with snakes. I've worked with birds. So what I have been coming to remember about the science is that it applies to every single mammal. It is
mm,
universal science. So this is not, I mean, I don't want to say I keep discovering things because it's not my discovery. I keep remembering, oh my God, like this is possible. Like this is how this works. How did you get this torque in your body? And how do we unwind it? And like, is that what was causing the disruption in your field that was either challenging your
mm,
behavior or that was, challenging your health? So I just
mm,
go in as a neutral observer, understanding what I understand about how to work with the process and being an empath, being able to feel exactly what's taking place and knowing that when I'm working with the fascia, we literally can see live in real time. This is what the animals told me. They were like,
mm.
record everything because I can't do the science on like, okay, here's the
Yeah.
piece of paper and here's your statistics and here I
Yeah.
can't do it that way, but I can do it live, and then people can watch,
Can
the
watch.
Mhm.
Okay. And then you mentioned fifth dimensional
Mhm.
science.
Yep.
What is that? I didn't
Okay.
even give you a chance there
No,
to
it's
take
okay.
a breath.
So, okay, when we're learning about the sciences, we're predominantly learning about chemistry and biology, right?
Mhm.
That I think we can all agree that that's what we're looking at to be able to make assessments, to be able to make determinations. Chemistry and science, the way that I kind of see it, because I studied Chinese medicine and because I studied, the yin and the yang. So it wasn't just studying Chinese medicine as like a textbook thing and understanding. I was literally living Chinese
Mm.
medicine and being able to understand and feel how
Mm.
the energy is moving through my body. And when it would get stuck, how could I release it, which increases the flow of energy. And usually when energy is flowing properly, we're healthy.
Mm.
That's that's not my thing. That's the way the universe works. So
Yeah.
I got to understand it from a very inner perspective of, wow, I have energy flowing through my body and there's energy in the environment. So these two things are actually not separate, even though we have
Mm.
physical bodies, and I get it, and I'm not negating any of that. At a certain point, and this is where fascia tissue comes in, because fascia tissue, in my experience, is the internet of the entire body. I mean,
What is
nothing
that?
does not pass through fascia tissue. And fascia tissue is what allows our chi, or the intelligence of how everything functions.
Mm.
It moves through that web system, just like we're on the internet, right? Well,
Mm.
this is our internet. Now, the
Mhm.
internet also interfaces, we've been told by physics, like, oh, it's just dark matter. Well, that's because they don't know what it is. Like, so it's like, that's a great explanation, but we're living in this field of energy. Like, how can I work with animals over long distances? Because when you get to the awareness of energy, so if biology is like, part of the yin yang symbol and
Mm.
chemistry is the other part, that's awesome, but it's contained in a circle.
Mm.
Circle is the unified energy field. Everything operates inside of it. So,
Mm.
from a macro perspective, if you work with that energy circle and you're like, hey, where's the compressions? Where's the bangs? Where's the dings that are slowing down the energy? If you open that back up, just like the concept of chiropractic care or meridians,
Mm.
right, through Chinese medicine or craniosacral, what starts to happen is the whole field starts to open back up and the body gets healthier.
Mm.
So if we can't find what's going on in the biology and the chemistry, then we take the macro approach to say, okay, where's the fascia tissue tight that's actually compressed or maybe twisted? And
Mm.
how do we release it to allow the field of energy to flow the way it normally does? The body's pretty darn intelligent. And so, how do we just release the tension on where the energy is blocked? Very, very similar to chiropractic care, very similar to acupuncture. And then all of a sudden,
Mm.
the system gets better. So,
Okay.
so the quantum is just, it's so small. It's smaller than anything we can detect, but it's just as important as what we
Mm.
can detect, because the quantum is what's running every single one of those cells and molecules.
Okay, super. I think that was a really good explanation. You did a great job with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I try. I try. I'm like, how do I make because to me, when I grew up and in school, there is no way, after I failed every math and science, like chemistry and biology test, there was no way that I was going to understand quantum physics. I
Yeah.
was like, that's for the smart people.
Yeah.
But it really can be broken down so simply, because one thing we always forget, we operate very much cognitively, right? From our brain.
Mm.
But the brain is a cognitive system. It is not
Mm.
a sensory system. So the very interesting thing when we look macro, micro, fascia tissue is what surrounds everything in the body. There is nothing that it does not touch. Fascia tissue is what feels.
Mm.
The way that the information, and maybe this will even be a simpler breakdown, because we have, right, our physical bodies that are energy, but we also have this huge field that we live in. Did you ever have the experience like you thought about somebody and then they called?
Yes.
Okay, that's the easiest way that I can actually describe that field, right?
Mm.
Someone was thinking about you, you picked up on those energy waves. For some reason, your body went, Susan. And then all of a sudden, 2 minutes later, you're like, Susan, this is weird.
Yeah.
Except it's not weird. It
Mm.
is the way we all work.
Mm.
So when the body is it is always experiencing its environment. Like if we all work with animals, animals don't think linearly. Animals think in
Mm.
360 degrees because they feel their environment. I have wild horses, right? They it's not their eyes. They don't even see the 10% in front. They see 350,
Yeah.
right? But it's not just that they see 350. They feel the whole field
Mm.
350, because they've got to know if there's a cougar, if there's a wolf, if there's something dangerous.
Mm.
They have to be able to feel it before the brain even registers
Yeah.
what it is. Humans operate the same exact way, except we've been conditioned
Yeah.
the cognitive, so we stop feeling. Like unless we have the test result,
Mm.
unless we have I can't possibly know the information. And when I'm
Yeah.
saying, yeah, actually you can,
Mm.
I've been finding through this work, especially when we don't understand, we don't know what's wrong. And then I go in
Mm.
energy work or do the communication, the animals always know exactly what's going on with them. They do. And it's like,
So
why don't we ask
interesting.
the animal, because they know. And
No.
then yeah, and
Mm.
then with the fascia tissue, it's like, okay, cool. Let's just like scan through your body. Let's like touch your different
Mm.
points, see what's off. And what is absolutely fascinating is what they know. I just worked with an Akita yesterday. I'd worked with her 6 months before. She was having a left leg limp, and they couldn't
Mm.
figure it out. And she doesn't like going to the vet. Like she's got to be sedated to go.
Yeah.
So we worked on her. Limp completely went away, and she had smacked her face a couple times. She runs down the hall, grabs a ball, and sometimes she would hit her face.
Mm.
So I hadn't seen her for 6 months. Lady said she's doing fine. And then all of a sudden she hit her face a couple times. Started working with her face, could feel exactly where she hit things, exactly where the compressions were that were slowing down the blood flow and the chi to her leg during the session. I mean, it took like 7 minutes. Got through her face, watched her walk. I was like, she's not limping anymore, because when we look at the
Mm.
body as a whole connected system with energy running through it, and that's where this is going to sound weird because it gets so simplified.
Mm.
Like it's just energy. And when energy gets blocked, like other things get blocked. I work on
Mm.
horses. They have hind end issues. I'll just start working on their face. The hind end completely releases. So
Mm.
even our notion of, okay, if their front right leg is bothering them, we've got to look at the front right leg. I'm like, it might have nothing whatsoever to
Yeah.
do.
To do with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you describe that difference between the fascia and the brain,
Mhm.
and thinking about the brain as cognitive, that is the system that it is, that is its function, that is how it works. And so we're expecting it to do a job potentially that it's not made for, or we're focusing on one system in our bodies, i.e. our brain, and ignoring the others. And I think that's one of the greatest things about the increase in the fascia conversations, is that it's opening the doors for all these different conversations, like fascia storing memory.
It totally does.
Because
100%.
like, how do we explain that except by shifting how we see and understand these things? Fascia as a sensory organ, 100%. The literature is showing that over and over again, that this is a sensory whole body organ that is doing things that we do not understand. We've read papers on the effect of vibration on the fascial system,
Yeah.
and how vibration will travel through the entire fascial system from one part of the body to the other. Those papers on the vibration is why we're seeing an increase in rehab therapists using the sound thingies, whose name I have forgotten, but I have one in my toolbox because I decided to play around with that. So it's really interesting how we're starting to see those conversations coming through as we're shifting our perspective around fascia, and understanding it's a much more important organ than we've given it credit for. So I love how you describe that in terms of, let's like put them together at the same level. Let's consider them as, different parts of a system that have different functions that are both equally vital. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing too, though. Fascia rules everything.
Mm.
So when I started understanding that perspective, and I started seeing the results that I started seeing, that's where it blew my mind, because I'm not negating the biology and chemistry. It happens, it's how we work. I get that. But when you actually start working with the fascia, and remember too, the first thing you got to think about fascia as, here's what receives the raw data. Okay, here's what receives the information and the intelligence. Then it travels up the spine to the brain, and all the brain is like a computer. It is a organizational, piece of equipment that says, oh, that's the information from the environment. Then it comes up here. So we are not, and this applies for all mammals. And I understand too, even, well, a dog is a dog and a horse is a horse, and they have different functions. And then I'm like, but in the fifth dimensional reality of just being energy, almost none of what we understand, I mean, it applies, okay? So I don't want to negate it, but it doesn't matter. Not the way we think it does. When we go from this awareness that, and I only understand this, I have not read a single book on fascia, okay? So I will be 100% transparent about that. I learn all of this stuff by working with the animals and being open to them showing me this is actually how it really works. So working with and through the fascia and releasing these different points, which are kind of like master gates that they showed me, you almost, in a certain way, like when I go into any session, when I work with any animal, I just tell the people, like, don't even tell me what's wrong. Like, you can let me know what you want to know, but don't give me a whole entire background.
Yeah.
We'll go through the body, and then the animal will tell us exactly where the issues are, what was happening. And then just by releasing the fascia tissue, it releases the restrictions that sometimes, and I'm a huge fan of acupuncture. I am a huge fan of chiropractic care, but sometimes we release things that even that can't pick up. And the other piece is, and I never knew this through Chinese medicine until the animals taught me this. What do you think the meridians are contained within? And I was like, the fascia. Then they were like, what do you think that the spine is contained within, and the cranial system? I was like, I felt like Kevin from Home Alone,
Yeah.
Oh my god, the fascia! So when I started working this
Oh,
way, and
yeah.
yeah, and you know, even with acupuncture, right? Like, well, oh well, okay, it's seeming like it's a liver condition
Mm,
and it's this and so we'll treat this way. Or if it's chiropractic, well, it seems like it's in this space. But when you start to do the system the way they taught me to do the system, every single time you work with an animal, you're going
mm,
head to tail. You're working with their emotional system. And what you mentioned about the research showing that emotions get stuck in the fascia,
mm,
100%. You can't see an emotion. You can't see a thought. It is not something you could tangibly see whatsoever, right? But we
mm,
acknowledge that we have emotions.
mm,
And over time, those emotions, my Chinese doctor always used to say, you know those garbage cans, like the silver garbage cans you push on the foot, you know, and the lid opens?
yeah.
He said what happens in the body is dampness starts to happen. Like if you left garbage in a garbage can like that, within a week, you will start to see underneath the lid, but at the top of it, you will start to
Mhm.
see droplets of moisture.
Condensation, yeah.
So over time, when that moisture gets to build up, it's like, so first it's like an emotion, right? You can't see it, it's not tangible, it's just energy. But if that's stuck in the system, over time, you will start to see those droplets of water. Then you
Mm,
will start to see masses grow. Then you,
mm,
so when
mhm,
you can help the whole body allow the chi to flow, you're releasing restrictions that over time would be building up
mm,
and then
yeah,
creating disease.
mm,
So it's very interesting. And even on animals I've worked on that have had chronic conditions for years, it's fascinating when you see the fascia release and you're like, how how is that even possible? You've told me that this horse has not run around the arena for 2 years. And now all of
mm,
a sudden, you're in England, I'm in Colorado, the horse releases, and now they're running around the arena. So the interesting thing about studying the science from the metaphysical perspective, and again, it's not negating the biology and chemistry. It's just saying, okay, yes, there's absolutely times to go micro, but not
mm,
all the time. And the macro is always taking place. So I don't
mm.
judge it by, well, how did you get there? And how did you, it's like we just do the work and we let the animals prove or
Take
show
us.
this is what's
Mm,
possible. And I love it because it's not just for the animals, it's for us too. We're a mammal too. We have the same
mm,
exact fascia tissue that they have. And the other thing that I started learning about the fascia tissue in the 5D, it's not, well, we've got, you know, the durokinetic chain and this is really intense fascia and this is light fascia. When you get into the 5D, it's just energy. It's just fascia.
mm,
And because I don't have that thinking in my brain, well, you know, this part of the fascia functions this way, but then that part of the you know, the fascia, it's one of those things, and I don't in any way, shape, or form mean to upset anybody, but I
mm,
know there's been a lot of schooling and a lot of education to become a vet.
mm.
But when it gets to this level, it's like, I hate to tell you, but you almost have to forget everything you think you know about this because the way that the system operates isn't by thinking, it's actually by feel. And when you
Mm,
drop back into your body and you can really feel those points, even at thousands of miles away,
mhm.
it is going to make us question everything we think we know about the physical sciences because
Mm,
then we're moving into the energy sciences,
mhm.
right? Like I said, I don't
Yeah.
want to make any of it like this is good or this is bad. I'm just looking at the only thing I care about is results. I think I
Yep.
heard Dr. Rachel Bellini say once, love results are my love language.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Like we can argue about the science all day long. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you, if you want to understand the quantum science or the unified field, I can absolutely show you that. But more than showing you that and teaching you that, I can help
Mm.
experience that and you draw your own conclusions from it. That's,
Yeah.
that's the place that I
Okay.
can come in from.
Okay, that's really awesome. I think that's this was such an interesting conversation, Alicia. I've learned a lot.
Oh,
You've definitely shifted my thinking a little bit, and I'm excited about that. So, to those of you that are listening, to our listeners who are watching the replay as well, where can they learn more from you if they want to dive deeper in this and understand it better and learn to apply it? Where can they reach you?
they can reach me at alleciamaine.com, Allecia Maine, Maine.com. I also have a weekly unified energy field healing lab. It's virtual, but I'm usually working with an animal and they're human, and I'm doing the instinct body assessment and phos release, plus, hearing whatever they want to communicate. So I let people come in and we watch on Zoom because I go into I don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
I don't know what we're going to find. I just show up and I'm like, well, I know I can do this with you and I know I can hear you. So let's see what you have to say. And it's kind of cool because it's not just about their body or their health, but also they know a lot of things about their humans. And animals
Mm.
definitely take on the stuff from their humans. So to be able to
Yeah.
hear directly from them what they want for their humans or how they want their humans, because remember, we have thoughts, emotions, feelings get stuck in our fascia tissue also sometimes. And this is another fascinating thing about fascia. You don't even have to, one, you don't even have to touch it, and sometimes it's better if you don't touch it hands on. It
Yeah.
operates at a higher level, but it also helps when the human understands from their animals what their animal sees about where they're stuck or
Mhm.
things are blocked in their fascia tissue. And sometimes
Mm.
just by talking about it, it completely clears up the blockages. I
Yeah.
mean, so medicine, I think there's a big picture of medicine that we're remembering. So that
Mm.
is, I have a TV show called Animal Healer TV. So they can contact me at Allecia Maine. They can contact me at hello at animal healer, HEELER.com. And yeah, I teach this. I have 3 levels. We learn the levels first, we practice them. I have the back line, the belly line, and the face line. And
Mhm.
it really is a unique system. I didn't create it. I was taught it by the animals, but it's very unique because it's based on literally all the way back to the science of the animals. Chinese medicine, most people
Mhm.
don't know the way it was created. The monks spent time in the forests and they studied the animals. So the
Oh,
animals actually taught the humans Qigong, Tai Chi, and Chinese medicine. So
wow.
they are now bringing us back to help us remember the universal medicine. So it's pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Animals are our teachers. I love that. Okay, Alicia, thank you so much. Guys, if
Thank
you've been listening and joining us today, thank you so much for joining us. And feel free to leave any comments or leave any questions or thoughts in the comments, and we'll come back to those. And we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.